Okay, so this is I like sharing about houses. This is a weird story. I lent someone a second mortgage on this property in 2006. So it was a hard money loan. They unfortunately foreclosed. The first mortgage foreclosed. So did I get paid? Nope, unless it foreclosed for more than what they owed on the first. If they got a mortgage and owe my one or two, Jason, one or two.
Two.
Cool. So at this time, I think we got a first mortgage for $120,000. I helped them get the mortgage. Ironically, they needed a little extra money, so I probably helped them refinance in 2006. 2007, we hit the peak of the market. I think they were at like 60 or 70% loan to value. They needed like 15 grand. I lent them the money. The economy hit the fan and it foreclosed. So I was like, oh crap, I lost my money. So like 18 months or 2 years later, it was a bank-owned property. So as I saw it, I was like, man, that house looks kind of familiar. And an advantage that we had is I had done the mortgage, right? Full circle, random, huh? So we bought the property. I think we bought it for like 60 grand. It was hammered. So this gives you a good example of before and after. We put on a new roof. We put on all new siding, all new soffit fascia, drip edge, new windows. This was the kitchen, a really weird configuration. This doesn't do it justice. Here's what's cool. So we got rid of this pantry, put a stackable, so you can see here's the washer, the dryer was there, and then it went around the kitchen. It was really inefficient. So we moved this, put this over here, put a door in, moved all the appliances. So real estate investing, why I'm sharing this with you, I've now been investing 10 years. There's always lots to learn. It's ironic that I bought the property from the bank who I lent the second mortgage. So when I kind of like emphasize things like saying you guys need to do this or you really need to consider this, is because I've already done this and I've learned on hundreds of thousands of dollars of mistakes, either in rehabbing or in losing a second mortgage. That's why I give the advice I do. Does that make sense? Most people, if you lost 16 grand, you'd be done, or you'd be done with real estate investing. So I took it as, oh crap, that sucks. I feel worse for the guy because he lost everything, but I continued to invest. Yes?
Did you replace the cooler with an AC unit?
On this one?
Yeah.
No, it's just a new, good question. Yeah, we put a new one in. We actually, Rocky Mountain Power used to have a rebate that if you ran ductwork in each room, you actually got $1,000 credit back. It's really cool. So basically the cost of running the ductwork in each room, because a swamp cooler is more economical than central air, saves energy bills. And this property was a Magna, and we bought this one for like 35 grand. So I think we bought it in like 2010. So cool. What we're going to cover right now, thanks for coming. We're going to go over how to turn 15,000 into 200. Trevor's going to get the presentation up. By raise of hands, who's here for the first time? Only 2 people? Really? Cool. 3? All right, good. Who's heard the first class, how to buy and hold or fix and flip? Raise your hands. Okay, good. So that's an intro class that I teach. This one's the second one. We're going to talk. I teach these classes every single month, over and over and over and over and over again. This allows me to meet with 15 to 20 people versus doing a bunch of lunch appointments and talking about the same stuff over, okay? So my first comment, real estate investing is investing. You're not going to get rich quick, even though you might see stuff on TV. It's a long progression. I will give advice on mortgages because I have a mortgage license. Do we have any realtors in the room? 1, 2, 3, 4. Cool, so we'll ask realtor questions. Any CPAs in the room? Any attorneys in the room? Don't be ashamed if you're an attorney. Okay, any insurance agents in the room? Licensed contractors? 1, 2, 3. Cool, we'll ask you guys questions. So there's a disclaimer with this for investing. We're going to talk about how to turn 15,000 into 200,000. And my name is Matt Atkinson. If you don't know that much about me, you can get with Trevor, watch the first videos. But I have a mortgage background. I now have picked up my 57th rental property last week, and I'm working on like my 72nd or 73rd door for flips. So I've actually personally signed HUDs over 100 transactions. So I think I've got a little experience to help you guys out with that. Okay, so we're going to talk about Maximizing your ROI. ROI means return on investment, active versus passive income. We're going to kind of focus on these examples. So for those of you that haven't gone to the first class, I'm going to review this because this is like fundamentally different for me versus anyone else that I know. If we're buying this property, you can still buy properties for 100 grand. Where can you buy properties for 100 grand? Anyone have? Where? Magna. Okay, cool. Where else? West Valley, Tooele. Where else? Orem. Where else? Provo. Are there any properties in Eagle Mountain still for 100? Yep. Okay. So I like building my portfolio, buying the most economically priced homes, because if the market goes down and corrects, I'm not going to be too concerned if my value goes from 150, 10% down to 135, versus if I bought a property for 250 and it goes down 10% to 225, I might be a little bit more stressed, right? I also don't really care about my values until I sell. It just sounds cool. But I do want to buy properties under value because it helps increase if I have to dump them, okay? So in this example, I buy a property for $100,000. I'm going to pay cash or get a hard money loan. Even though I have cash, I still would get a hard money loan if I was buying a rental, because I'm borrowing the money from someone else and I can keep my capital in my pocket. So if I get a hard money loan is a short-term bridge loan from a professional lender or a company that lends you money for 90 to 180 days. If you're going to get a flip, here's a good example. If you're going to do a flip, always borrow for at least 6 months. Always, always, always. If you're going to do a flip in hard money, if they're going to do an extension, at least ask for a 90-day extension, not a 30-day, okay? This is huge. I got a lot of newer investors. When they sign the paperwork, they think, oh, I'm going to get my money back really quick. It goes longer than 6 months. They got to get an extension, and then they complain how expensive it is because they didn't anticipate for it. The most expensive I've seen was 3 points a month on an extension. That's really freaking expensive. But when they bought it, they didn't think they would have to extend, okay? So that's 36% annually. So you got to know your stuff up front. Refinance costs. This is a $100,000 house. I just like to round up for even numbers. That's $4,000. So your total pocket, if you roll in the money, is 110. So for me to buy a property like this, that I'm going to have an ARV means after repair value. ARV, for me to buy this property as a buy and hold, I would want it to at least be like 140, 145, okay? It's ideally you want to stay at 75% loan to value if you own 4 properties or less. If you own 5 to 10 properties, you have to stay at 70% loan to value. Okay, so this is good for a buy and hold. So what's good with this is based on interest rates right now. So at 5.25%, that's what it could be, 4.875. But at 5.25, your PITI, principal and interest, taxes and insurance, is $732.42. That's assuming probably like $100 a month for real estate taxes, $50 a month for property insurance. Now rents, a 4-bedroom, 2-bath house. Does anyone own a property management company or work for one in here? Does anyone have rentals? Cool. How much do you think you can rent a 2-bedroom, 1-bath house in an average area? Open it up. How much? 800? Whoa. 500, that's it for a 4-bedroom, 2-bath? Oh, okay. I'm just seeing if you guys are paying attention. Okay, good. 4-bedroom, 2-bath. Okay, 4-bedroom, 2-bath, 1125? 3-bedroom, 2-bath. Where's it in the valley? Just what city? West Jordan. Okay, cool. Does anyone have a 4-2? How much do you rent it for?
$11.95.
$11.95? Cool. So can we say 1150's average? Does that sound good? Okay, Trevor. Where's Trevor?
We just took a call up.
Oh, okay. Lonnie, she should know this. What does Section 8 rent 4 bedrooms, 2 baths for in Salt Lake County?
Salt Lake County recently had a reduction.
Let's say Salt Lake City then.
Salt Lake City, $13.50.
$13.50. Cool. So you can rent Section 8, $13.50 all day long in Salt Lake County. Is that good? Consult your local county housing authority. So we're going to be more conservative, $11.50. My utilities, if it has, I try to let the tenant pay for the utilities. Some cities will not allow them to, so I just pay for it. I absorb it. We're going to budget $75. So your total monthly net is $342. So if you've gone to my first class, what is the max I want you to invest in a buy and hold property, out of pocket? Does anyone remember? Scott Hodges. 15K. Whoever said that, good job. Not Scott Hodges. Got that one, Scott Hodges?
Got it.
Okay, 15K. So if you're going to put more than 15K in a buy and hold, just go buy another property. Unless you really, really, really love it, maybe you're stretching to 17 only because it's like maybe it's a cash flow is $100 more, or because it's on the same street as you already have a rental property. I think I've got 4 properties like that are on the same street. So sometimes I'll pay a little bit more because I'm like, oh, I love that house 2 houses down. It's really easy for me to manage. So, but under normal circumstances, you can remodel a lot for 15. If you're going to pay more than 15, just buy something else. If you're going to do it this way, okay? So your yearly cash flow is $4,011. So here's what's cool with this. This ARV, I gave you the minimum what I want. So your minimum on this property, with it being a little bit more competitive, might be 145. But ideally, let's say you bought this property for 165. You also could flip it. So that's why I'm sharing these examples. Your equity in your property is $55,000. I'm taking 165 minus 110. I'm not taking into consideration what the repairs are, because if I'm keeping it as a buy and hold, what am I doing with the repairs on my taxes? Right. Expensing them, writing them off, or doing capital improvements, okay? So it's going to help me long term with my taxes. Does that make sense? Okay. So my total monthly rent is $342.58, cash flow is $511. The max I want to put is $15,000. So my ROI, my cash on cash investment for the first year is 27.4%. Here's what I did. I took 411 divided by 15, 27.4%. Even I could do that math. Okay, who thinks that's a good ROI? Everyone raise your hand. If you don't, come teach me how to make better rates of return without selling drugs. Okay? What's that show on TV that's over?
Breaking Bad.
Yeah, there we go. See, yeah, everyone likes Breaking Bad. Guy was a chemist teacher in high school, I guess. Okay. This is fundamental difference. Let's spend a couple minutes. Who has questions on this? Yes, sir. Great question. How much down? How much down? Zero. Because I'm buying a property with equity. So if I buy the property for 100, I'm doing what's called forced appreciation. Forced appreciation means I'm making repairs to justify increase higher value. The first 23 properties I bought, actually I think it was 22, so I don't want to round up to make it sound better. I bought 22 rentals before I even bought my first flip. I bought them all like this. So I always got money from other OPM, other people's money. I did forced appreciation, and then I refinanced off the balance. And I can do that all day long. I have 5 mortgages right now that I'm helping other investors refinance. Scott first.
So you said forced appreciation, but you didn't talk about repair costs in there.
Repair costs would be $15,000 based on that example.
So, but you had your $4,000 for refinance costs.
Good question. Let me go back. I'm a bad explainer. I apologize. I'm going to take my hard money costs plus the refinance mortgage costs, and that gets added on top to the 110. So I'm not paying that out of my pocket. I'm rolling it in the loan. Does that make sense?
The $15,000 is cash out of your
Yeah, you got it. The $15,000 is the cash out of my pocket.
That's just for rehab costs?
Just for rehab costs. If you buy a skinnier deal because you want the street or it's really, really good, whatever the reason, then you're a mortgage lender, right?
Yeah.
Then when you refinance, if you are above 75% loan to value, you just bring the cash to close. I do this all the time. It's Fannie Mae. You can do this Fannie Mae, right? Okay, good question. To answer your question, sir? You had a question after.
What do we do with my wife and I are self-employed?
Me too. Keep going.
So how do we, as yourself as a mortgage lender, how do we get a mortgage?
You just apply for one?
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's easy.
So we'll just come to your house.
Yeah, or we can even do it over the phone.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I try to be more convenient for guys like you.
Nice.
Okay, so here's a good comment, okay? By raise of hands, who's self-employed? Good, most of us. Okay, cool. Last year I taught a class at Slaria. I should teach this class. It was 10 ways to maximize your credit and get 20 rental properties. So a couple ideas. If you're self-employed, number 1, make enough money that after your expenses that you can get a mortgage. Now some of us might chuckle and say, why would I want to do that, right? This year I'm paying 39.6% to the IRS. Do I love it? No, not at all. But does that mean I did pretty well? Yeah, it means I did pretty well. So ideally, I'm not going to go blow more money to lower my taxable income. Now, obviously, all of us are in different financial circumstances. Last year was my best year I've ever had, just everything hit together. But I want to be conscientious of what my repairs are. A lot of people that are self-employed will go buy stuff to expense on their tax returns, and if it doesn't help them increase more money, yes, it lowers your taxable income, but I would say, hey, if you buy, let's call it equipment, okay? Let's say you bought equipment and it cost you $5,000 and you expense it on your tax returns. Well, how much does it save you in tax? Maybe $3,200, right? How much more could you make with that $5,000? Now, you're here because you want to learn how you can make more money with $5,000. I bought a property last week, seller financing, $5,000 out of my pocket. Is that cool? Yeah, I don't have to qualify for a mortgage. Who has $5,000 they could take over a house? Good, lots of people, right? So it's all based on learning how to do this. 3 years ago, let's see, what do we, gosh, I gotta remember the right year. 2010, I bought my first seller finance property. I didn't know what I was doing. I was just like, oh, I know you can do it. I took a couple classes and I'm like, oh, okay, cool. And now I'm building up all my rental portfolios buying seller financing, okay? So to answer your question, being self-employed, good thing. Everyone needs to have a personal budget. And if you don't, shame on you. Doesn't mean you have to eat top ramen. It just means you gotta follow something. Make sense, Adam Hall?
Very much so.
I like your beard. So to answer your question, I review people's tax returns that are clients of mine before they file all of the time, because sometimes it's worth paying a little bit extra income to get a mortgage. Because when you file your tax returns, no one wants to go back and amend the returns to save $2,000 extra, because when you qualify for a mortgage, you need 2 years tax returns. So you just have to take into consideration what your tax liability is being self-employed versus what your expenses are. Is that helpful for everyone? Other comment real quick. You need to have a personal budget for your business. You got to know where your numbers are at, because sometimes we're self-employed like myself. Like if I have 4 flips going on, I might be a little tight. If I have 4 flips, I could be out of pocket $600,000, right? Well, then I learned to leverage. I borrow OPM, other people's money. So then if I have to pay taxes in September, I'm not saying like, holy crap, I got to hurry up and pay taxes. I take those things into consideration. So you just need to treat your business like a business, if that makes sense. So good accounting is important for self-employed, and then ideally making enough versus controlling what your costs are. Does that kind of answer your question?
Very much.
Okay. I'd be happy to chat with you later if you'd like about that. So back to this, 27.4%. It's a good ROI. So this is, I'm going to call this an active investor. Most of you guys are in here are becoming active investors, or you're an active investor. That means you're playing the game and you're managing it yourself, okay? Now I'm going to give you an example of a passive investor. This is still great. It's just you're not going to manage the rental yourself, okay? You're still going to buy the asset. I got 3 investors right now. One just put a house under contract over the weekend, and I'm helping 2 others. They want the cash flow. They just don't want to manage it themselves. So there's nothing wrong with that. So they just take that into consideration for their fees. So I'm going to say $100 off the top is for the management fees. Anyone own a property management company in here? Okay, fees range from 8 to 12% in out of state. In Utah, we're cheaper, so we'll call it 8 to 8.5%. Okay, so 8 to 12%. So if you take $100 off the top, your monthly rent is $242.58. Your cash on cash return, if you think about it, you guys saw the photos before. We're not skimping by remodeling. Those houses look good, correct? We want to improve them, that we only have to put carpet and paint in 5 to 10 years. Does that make sense? I want to do all the mechanical stuff up front, because then I can depreciate it over my taxes, versus like a lot of investors will just barely put the bare minimum they have to until it's like horrible and you have to replace it. I'd rather repair as much as I can, then replace. But sometimes if your life, like we have this 8-plex, we call it Little Asia. They're all from Laos or Cambodia. Great properties. When we took over the properties, we remodeled 2, and we let all the tenants say, you get first pick. If you guys want to move into these new properties, you can move in. We're only going to charge you X much more, but they're all in good condition. Did any of them move out? Nope. They all stayed. That's their own prerogative, but they've got a lot of deferred maintenance. If they've already lived in the properties like that, I'm not going to go and fix them up while they're there, because I obviously gave them the option to move into something a lot nicer and to pay $70 more a month, which I would say is pretty minimal for what they're paying right now, but they chose to live in deferred maintenance. So we're okay with that till they move out. So those are some things that you'll learn as you get better at property managing. So going back to this, the reason why I want to share the first 12 months is a lot of investors, they only buy the rental properties, fix them up, and then they sell them 12 to 24 months later, because you can either do what's called a 1031 exchange, or you can at least go from short-term capital gains to long-term capital gains tax. Has anyone heard of 1031 exchange? It's a tax code you got to roll up, okay? Roll up into something more expensive, not necessarily larger. That's really important to know. So I'm going to show cash-on-cash investments of what you can earn, because if you remember, you're buying it with equity. Realtors, real quick, what do we think the market's going to do in the next 12 months? Go up, go down, or stay flat? Go up. Do we think go up? Do we think it'll go up more than 10%? No. 5%? 5%? Probably. That's healthy, right? We want it to be affordable so normal people can continue to go up to buy houses. When it goes up 10 to 15%, normally values follow inflation. So if it goes up 10 to 15%, whose wages have gone up 10 to 15% in the last 12 months? Maybe if you're self-employed and you're building it up, but normal wage earners, your income doesn't go up 10 to 15% a year. So things to consider. So this gives you an example of a passive investor. Make sense? Someone who's on it though, but they're not dealing with the day-to-day stuff. I'm going to call this the normal investor. Okay, the normal investor doesn't go to real estate clubs. By raise of hands, who has ever gone to a SLORIA meeting? Good, most of you. Cool. Who's ever gone to a UV-RIA meeting? Cool. Who's never even heard of that? Raise your hand. Don't be ashamed. I knew there were 2. Cool. Good. We'll give you some flyers. There's some real estate clubs that meet once a month. They're really good. They have investors like me or smarter than me. A lot of them are smarter than me, talking on different topics. And it's like an open book. They'll tell you everything at the meetings because they want to give back, because they remember when they were brand new and they had a big learning curve. So they're great ways to learn a lot of information. But a lot of investors don't even just know about it because the meetings, we just do a poor job of advertising. So let's say this is the average investor, and I will buy houses from them all day long. And if you'd like me to take over your payments, let me know, okay? We'll make it mutually beneficial. So, average investor, they have a 25% vacancy. And the reason why I'm bringing that up is they are weak landlords. They let the tenants push them around. They don't collect the rent on time. They hear the sob stories. I got a heart too, but at the end of the day, when we sign a contract, I qualified them up front. I want my money. It is what it is. Make sense? So they have 25% vacancy. So what I did is I took 25% off $1,150. Does that make sense? So, okay, so that's $862.50, and then I took the $100 off for the management fee also. Okay, so with the mortgage property manager, they're making $832. Monthly rent is $29.92. Yearly cash flow is $352.04. Their ROI on their investments 2.3%. Who thinks that's good? Okay, who would still buy a property though if those were the numbers? 2 people, half the people, only because I rose my hand. Okay. Here's what's cool with that. Why would it still make sense to own real estate?
Appreciation.
Appreciation. What else is happening? Good. They're paying down balances. Good. So appreciation, and they're paying down balances. So here's a cool couple examples. Here's the biggest tip. So big gold nugget, like end of the pot rainbow, St. Patrick's Day, okay? You've got to manage your properties really, really tight. And I'm not saying be tight like you got to be good. You got to manage them. Don't let them manage you. There's a lot of people that let their tenants manage them, okay? And then if you're going to use a property management company, which is totally good, if you're like, I just don't have the stomach for it, I don't want the phone calls, I just don't want to make it uncomfortable, I don't want to take an eviction notice, I have no problem giving eviction notices, just like, you owe me money, you got to move out. Okay, if you don't want to deal with that, you got to screen and make sure your property managers are good. So get referrals or references. And they should give you 10, not just 3. Does that make sense? They're only going to give you the 3. Think about referrals. If you're applying for a job, you're going to give your 3 best referrals, not 10. You know what I mean? So it's good to, property management's the key for this. So we'll talk some more stuff. Forced appreciation. So as you buy the property, here's what's cool. If you buy the property still for $100,000, you put $15,000 of improvements, Forced depreciation is worth 165 right now. Do we all agree that values will double at least once in 30 years? Is that a fair assumption? Yes. Does anyone own a property before 1990 in here? Any property? 1, 2. Do you remember what year you bought your first house? 94. Where'd you buy it? South Jordan. Do you still live in it by chance? Oh, cool. What'd you buy it for? Do you remember?
Well, we built it and we originally paid 110.
110 in South Jordan. What do you think it's worth now? Ballpark. 300. Good. So that doubled at least once. What was your for sure you bought your house, Brian?
85.
85. Do you remember what you bought it or built it for?
I bought it in 89, bought it for 85.
Oh, you bought it in 89 for 85.
Like 360.
It's worth 360. Cool. So why I'm bringing this up, this is really cool stats. I wish I had that flyer. There's a website called ofheo.org or .com, ofheo.com. You can get it from Trevor if I messed up on one of them, but it's the government's way that they regulate value appreciation. And I did this for a mastermind group last week, showing them some information. Since 1991, the average appreciation in the United States is like 103%. And then if you divide it by 27 years, it's like 3.5, give or take, okay? So it's following inflation. Since in Utah, the average appreciation was like 187%. So it was better than the United States. So why I'm sharing this with you is if you remember the not as good as example, only earning 2% on your money, if you own the property for 30 years, if it's worth 165 and it goes to 130, your mortgage is paid off, right? How much did you invest up front, assuming that any cash flow you earned, you just put back into improvements? So you didn't make any cash flow. Does that make sense? So what's your ROI? 15,000, if that's all you put down, okay, you didn't get any cash flow, divided by 330,000 is 220% ROI. And I had my attorney review this with me before, and he said, I'm okay as long as you put this. Does not take into account the time value of money or taxes. Because we don't know what your money is worth as it grows. Everyone's different. And we don't know what our tax liability will be when we pay off the assets. Does that make sense? Yes, sir.
Wouldn't that be 230? Because you bought it for 110. For 110?
But what's my total investment out of pocket?
Okay, the 15. You're just looking at the 15.
I'm just taking my cash.
Then you get the entire asset.
Yes, correct. So I'm taking cash, write a check, Chase Bank, not what I bought it for, correct. This is why I don't pay cash for houses on rentals. Because my leveraging power is less. I could own 12 houses free and clear or have mortgages on 57. I make more with mortgages on 57 than the 12 free and clear. If I had 12 free and clear, I got a lot of exposure to get sued. I got a lot of equity. No one wants to sue someone who doesn't have any equity. Okay? So what's cool with this is most of us are not going to hold our portfolio, the same property, for probably 30 years unless it's a primary residency. So I'm rolling up. That's my new thing, rolling up. Every 10 years I'm going to sell, do 1031 exchanges, just roll up bigger, bigger, and bigger. It's pretty cool. Yes, Mr. Hammond?
Can I ask you a 1031 question?
I'm not an accountant.
Okay. Well, you said you had to roll up to something more expensive. How
Yes.
much more does it have to be? $1,000?
They just said more expensive. Yes, Ron.
You're really going to have a higher ROI because you've got yearly cash flow.
Yep. But I was just giving it very basic. 15K up front. Let's say we break even on cash flow, so we don't make any money because we put money back in repairs. I'm just showing the initial investment of 15, and you sell the asset for 330. Make sense? Yeah, I could manipulate the numbers better or worse. I'm just showing 15K out of pocket. What's my repairs? So here's another tip, not in the slides. I want to make 20% on my money. So if you're going to bring me a seller finance property, ideally I want to make 20% on my money. So that improves down payment and whatever money I got to put into the property to fix it up. So hypothetically, if I buy a property with $200 a month cash flow, 2 times 12 is $2,400. and I put, how much money could I put into the property? 11 grand. Make sense? So if I put 11 grand down and I cash flow 2,400 annually, I would be okay with that. Because it's getting paid down also, so that makes sense, and the values will go up over time. So that kind of gives you an idea of what type of properties I'm looking to buy. That's really not that much. If you bring me a property that I got to bring 50 grand down and I only cash flow 300, probably not interested. Might not fit for someone else, just not for me. Okay, so last 30 years, we gave an example. You built your house in 89? Oh, 94? You bought it for 110, or you built it for 110. It's worth 300. You built yours in 89 for 85. Hi, Mr. Denim Shirt Gentleman. You can sit right up here in the front. So those are they're going to go up. Just let's be conservative. Appreciation follows inflation 3% a year. You'll be pretty comfortable. Any questions on that? Part 3, financing. Okay, this is good for hard money. Hard money lenders are going to charge. Has anyone lent hard money before? 1, 2, 3, 4. What did you lend? Sir, what was the last loan you lent out? You remember by chance?
Interest rate of 12%.
12%. Cool. Eric?
How much for the interest?
Interest rate.
10%.
10%. How much?
10.
10. Cool. So 10. I'm going to call it 12. Okay. You should plan on 12. Market really shouldn't be more than that. So if they're going to charge you more, maybe they'll charge you less points. So you need to take that into consideration. I like normal hard money lenders will charge 4 points. Some will charge more, some will charge less. Some will depend on how many transactions you've done with them. Some depends on the equity position. There are some hard money lenders, if you put 30% down every single time, they'll just do 2 and 12 because you're at a 50% equity position. It's all really relative. I care the most on who will let me borrow the most because I want my capital for other stuff, okay? So we'll just give an example for 4. There are definitely people that charge flat fees. So it's all really relative. The amount of work for me to do my due diligence on a $60,000 deal, I should do flat fees for minimums. The amount of work for me to do a $60,000 hard money loan is the same amount of work for me to do due diligence on a $250,000 hard money loan, okay? So you got to take into consideration what your time's worth. Okay, for a buy and hold, I like holding the note for 90 days. Okay, so if it takes you more than a month to fix it up, that rehab's too much. Rehabs for buy and hold shouldn't take you more than a month, even if you're newer. Eric, do you agree with that?
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you're doing the mortgage, and I'll go over this with you later, shows you how. Other thing to take into consideration, if you're lending hard money, you should consult an attorney. One thing I do is I have rather than going to foreclosure, I could do a deed in lieu of foreclosure. So if they haven't paid me back, they already have a warranty deed signed that I can go and take the property back like 10 minutes recording a document. All these little things you learn as you invest more, okay? So hard money loan, 4 points, could be 0 to 5. I've never seen more than 5 in a long time. Interest could be 10 to 18. Now here's an example. Why would you pay 18% no points? What if you only needed the money for 3 weeks? Does that make sense? So in that example, you're like, hey, I'd rather pay 18% because I'm only lending the money for 3 weeks versus paying the points up front and interest. So you got to pencil out the math, what makes the most sense with what your deal is. Has anyone heard of transactional funding or flash cash? So if they're wiring, you guys, 3 people, 4 people, 5, cool. If you wire the money and it's only them for 2 days, you're not going to charge the guy probably 4 points and 12%. You just might charge them a flat fee to show the money's there and then take the money back out. So different things to take into consideration. Here's a good example of a house that I flipped last year. Brian's seen this house. So this was the only house I think I bought on the MLS last year, and last year we flipped 13. So where did I find the other ones? Not on the MLS. Makes sense? Lots of other ways. So the reason why I like this property is it gives you an example of what before and after looks like. So I'll go back. So you'll see range, fridge, all wood paneling, this awesome diamond carpet. It's really stylish. We took it from Studio 54 in New York City. No one knows what that is? Okay, good. Okay, good. So change the configuration. We put the fridge over here. You can't see it, but move the range over, move the 220, made the flow a lot more functional. I don't remember. We bought this one for like mid 80s and sold it for like 120, 130ish. We made a little bit, maybe like 12 to 15. One thing though, I remember when we remodeled it, we tore off the paneling. There was no sheetrock. When we tore it off, there were termite damage all over the floor joists. So we took us like, it was like $1,500 to fix it correctly because there wasn't activity for a long time, but we did fix it because we want to have a good product. So just kind of gives you an example of a good fix and flip. Okay, here's an example. I'll put this up if you want to get your phones out and take photos. So if you're newer to remodeling, this is a great way to keep your schedule, okay? So the first week when we're buying a property, we're doing demo, rough electrical, plumbing, and exterior cleanup. So we want to clean up the yard as soon as possible, and then we want to do the demo to have an idea of what configuration we want to do. Week 2, we want to do layout configuration. When we do layout configuration, that's because once you've demoed, then you got to figure out where you're going to put stuff back. Now, you don't go into it demoing saying, oh crap, now what do we do? We already have an idea of how we're going to make modifications to the floor plan, but that's when we do the layout configuration. Then we do sheetrock, texture, windows, because if we look, we already did rough electrical and plumbing, texture and windows. Quick questions. Anyone put in windows in a house in the last 12 months? Good. How long does it take from when you order them? How long do windows take unless they're at stock at Home Depot or Lowe's? What's
Get
the
them in 2 weeks.
2 weeks? Okay. Scott, would you get them in?
I said 10 days.
10 days. Adam?
2 weeks.
2 weeks. Eric? Cool. I should be a window distributor. I can get them in 5 days. But I'm not going to wholesale windows. Okay, good. So here's the point. When am I putting in windows? The second week. So I already know, I've already like gotten my bids before I buy the house, and the day I close, I order the windows. Does that make sense? This just takes time of learning the process of being better. Let's say it takes 7 days because they forgot the order. If I buy it on a Tuesday and I install them on the next Friday because I want, or Thursday, I'm throwing in the windows that week. I like throwing windows in at my installers do. I like throwing them in here because then it's just done and then they can determine if they're going to trim it out with MDF or if they're going to do sheetrock, just little stuff like that. Trust me, I've put windows in after and you're like, oh crap, we got to bring back this guy and fix all the stuff. So we like doing windows right here at the same time. Week 3, we do painting. Paint, flooring, tile, finished carpentry, cabinets. Okay, has anyone bought cabinets in the last year? Same 4 people. Eric, how long does the cabinets take from start to finish?
Custom or like something that you order?
Not from stock cabinets from Home Depot or Lowe's. A week? You can get cabinets in a week?
Or less. I got custom ones in 4 days.
Wow, that's good. Okay, Adam, you should take him to lunch. Adam, what about you?
About a week.
A week, Scott?
2 weeks.
2 weeks? Dude, how's Windows taking longer than cabinets?
Right?
Or everyone?
Just did.
Oh.
Are in stock windows after you do it?
How about, okay, cool. So let's say it takes 1 to 3 weeks. Let's say they're not stock cabinets. You do European style. You got weird walls. You got to do like a 12.5 inch. Then you got to put like a 28 inch. There's a lot of different configurations. So if you notice, we've probably done our layout configuration. We got a good idea of what the cabinets are going to be. This first week, we confirm our cabinets, then we're throwing cabinets in at the end of the week. I plan a 7-day lead time from when I order them. So we're putting in cabinets the week 3rd. Now, if you'll notice, painting's done, flooring, tile, finished carpentry, cabinets. Okay, week 4, finish electrical, so everything's already painted. They're throwing in the light switch fixtures, plug switches, lights. They're putting in the trim because they've already tiled everywhere. We put carpet and final cleanup. So this gives a good example of how you do a buy and hold in 4 weeks. You could even do a flip. When I've only got 2 flips going on at the same time, I can easily do this in 4 weeks, even pretty big ones. When I have 4 or 5 going on, I kind of stretch my guys out. I got to bring in other guys. They just don't work as well. So as quickly, I kind of plan on 5 weeks when I've got 3 to 5 flips going on. If I've only got 2 going on, I can easily do them in 3 to 4 weeks. Yes?
Do you flip as much in the winter as you do in the summer?
Do I flip as much in the winter as much as in the summer? I'll slow down. Great question. I'll slow down October-ish because not as many people want to move during Christmas time. So my goal is to have at least one flip going on every month. And then if I have a really good screaming deal, yeah, I'll pull it down. Right now, I'm looking to buy a lot because I could buy one every other week and be done till August. Yeah, because I can have multiple crews doing exterior work and inside work. Ideally, if I had my best, like, ultimate, I would want to buy one every 3 weeks. So what's that? 3 divided by 52? 17. My goal is to do 18 flips this year. So sometimes it doesn't happen. Sometimes I'll buy 2 in a week. Just whatever comes in front of me. So, like right now, just let me think. You guys good with this? You guys took your notes you need to? Let's see. I bought one. I'm buying one on Friday that I put under contract on Saturday. And then I'm partnering with someone else on Friday. So, like, I'm going to start 2. It's dumb. I'm going to start 2 next week. I'll probably delay 1 a week just because even if it gives me 1 week, I can just stagger them. So ideally 3 weeks. So if I'm getting a buy and hold and a fix and flip, if you remember, did I show you how you can turn 15,000 into 200? Right? By buy and holds, right? Your initial investment. Okay, flip. So I'll go on the other part, how you take the 15, 20K and to roll it. So with the remodeling part, if I'm getting a buy and hold, if you notice this week 1, I'm taking my mortgage application that week. Now, this doesn't mean I'm getting your financials. I've already gotten your financials up front. I'm literally taking the loan app the day of closing because I want your hard money out the shortest term possible. Does that make sense? A lot of newer investors, they don't start the mortgage until the house is done, and you just wasted an extra 12% for a month because you didn't know any better. Now you know better. Is that okay? So I'm starting the mortgage application the first week. Second week, I'm marketing that rental property immediately because I want the most qualified tenant as possible. A lot of newer investors, they don't start marketing until the house is ready. Don't do that. I want people jumping in line to rent out the property, then I'm maximizing my cash. Does that make sense? Yes?
We've run into problems with people visualizing the finished product, though.
Oh, okay, cool.
You know, they start walking through and they're like, there's not even a floor. You know, and you try to tell them what you're going to do to the place, but...
Here's what I would do. Show them before and after photos of your other projects. So if you have, like, here's another nugget. This one's, I would say is big. You should paint all your houses the same color. I didn't figure that out until like 3 years into it. I was stupid. And my contractor, the first guy that ever did carpet for me, is like, you need to do, I like Desert Fawn. Here, Desert Fawn, satin finish, qual paint. Desert Fawn, satin finish, qual paint. It's awesome. It's neutral. It wipes up good. I just love that color. It's not too pink. It's not too dark. Hides a lot of stuff. Desert Fawn, satin finish, qual paint. Builder spec. It's actually a builder spec quality of paint of qual.
Gobi Desert.
What is it called?
Gobi Desert.
Gobi Desert. That's what you like?
That's what I like.
Cool. I haven't seen that. I'm not familiar with that.
It's kind of a great.
Hold on. No. Wait. You answer your question, then I'm going to go back to Adam. You said it's kind of a what?
Kind of a grayish color.
I like tan for rentals.
Yeah. It kind of matches everything. In the sunlight.
Cool.
It's
Can I paint my wife with it?
yeah.
I should try her. She's looking kind of plain to me. Okay. That was a joke. I love my wife. It's St. Patrick's Day. I don't care if it's on the video. I love you, wife. Okay, so, Adam, flips. Here's something I've done different for flips. I do, started this last year. I have an interior designer pick out my color scheme for all my flips from year to year now. So I want to change as the market changes because everyone watches HGTV. I love HGTV. And they like what's trendy on HGTV. So what I tell the designer, I don't want cutting edge trend. I want something that's solid, that's going to be neutral, but it's updated. So the last 2 years, we've changed our color. So we have 1 paint color, 2 carpet colors. No, 1 paint, 1 carpet, 2 tile, 2 laminate. So then whatever house, we just tell the contractors, you pick, I don't care, because they can't mess it up. Does that make sense? So we got a Lowe's tile and a Home Depot tile. How do they pick with the tile? Whatever store is closer to the house. But if you think about it, if it's that simple, there's no guesswork. They just get the same materials. And if we have a little bit extra, we just take it to the next project. So that's worked really well for me. So back to answer your question, I like the before and after photos because if you say, hey, here's what our houses look like when they're done, people are going to be good with that. They're like, oh, okay, that totally makes sense. So you start marketing it, okay? 3, screen applicants, gather the mortgage application items, schedule appraisal, tenant walkthrough. So marketing it is the second week. The third week, remember how far we were in the third week? Third week, paint, flooring, tile, finish, carpentry. Do you think people have a better idea after they see carpet and paint? Okay. So if we go back here, week 2, we're marketing it, but week 3, we're showing it. And what I also like doing is I like going to the houses. I actually don't go more than once a week anymore. Trevor does a great job with this. But if I was going to go, I would only go twice a week. Do you ever go more than twice a week? No. So we go twice a week. We stack people on top. We're like, we're going to be at the property of Tuesday from 5 to 5:30. You can come then, or you can go to the property on Saturday from 10 to 10:30. And if you have 4 to 5 people show up, it shows excitement. Then they fill out applications immediately. I don't go and show the property once a day. That's totally not worth, that's not the best use of my time. That's not the best use of your time either. If that's the best use of your time, we got to help you getting more high income producing activities. Does that sound good? Okay. Utilizing technology is really good too. So here's a good tip. If you can take everyone, raise your hand if you have a smartphone. Most people? Okay. If you can invest in a smartphone, take a video. Don't go like this, like, woo! Like, take a video like you're walking through the property, post it on YouTube, and email them that. Is that cool? You don't even have to show them the property. Then they'll know if they like it or not. I make all tenants, we have them drive by the area to see if they like it first, and if they like it, then we'll show it to them. So it's all about efficient. These little tips I'm giving, actually, we're teaching a landlording class next month in April. We teach one a year because there's a lot of stuff people just don't know about landlording to get more efficient. So we'll talk about that more. But this gives you an idea of screening the applicants. So week 4, if you remember, you choose your renter because you're basically done and you're meeting the appraiser. This is a big key. Do not have the appraiser go to the property until it is completely finished. You have a lot of investors who are like, oh, we got to get them out there because our interest is costing us $13 a day. Okay, look. Is anyone an appraiser? Okay. The appraisers want to look at it clean because you're trying to hit the highest ARV. If your house is perfectly remodeled and it's clean, they're going to give you more versus if there's clutter all over the place. Like I have another investor, we're helping him refinance a duplex. He bought like this. He rushed it because his hard money was maturing. He sat on the house for 4.5 months and started working on the refi. I have no idea why. But the appraiser went. It looked good. We had an awesome equity position, but there wasn't painting done. So then the lender looked at it. It's called subject to. The appraisal is subject to the repairs being fixed. So we had to get the repairs fixed. So it cost them another $150. Waited 5 days for it to get fixed. And now we're closing. So just make sure it's done. It's worth waiting a few extra days. Also, I would encourage you guys to meet the appraiser at the house. That's the only time you're going to be able to get educated with what you can do to increase the value more. It's a good question. Write that down. Appraiser, in your opinion, what improvements could I have made differently to increase the value more? Right? They're going to tell you what's the biggest bang for the buck. Because the appraisal laws have changed that you as consumers and we as mortgage, can you call your appraisers? You do? Okay, I can't. You don't? Okay. Shouldn't call the appraiser saying, hey, what can we do to fudge with this value? I wish I could. I can't. But as you as the borrowers, yeah, that's when you can get feedback from them. So I'll give a quick example. I sold a property to an investor 3 weeks ago. It's a turnkey rental. It's an awesome cash flow. He's going to cash flow like $450 a month. He just put 20% down because he doesn't want to learn how to fix them up. And with the appraisal, I'm like, I want to talk to the appraiser. So I asked questions like, hey, what could I have done different to make the remodel? It was in Taylor's. I was like, nothing. Like, putting in granite would not have done anything. You did a great job. It was just confirming that I couldn't have done anything different. And he got the value. He used comps from 6 months ago because the comps were better and the lender didn't have a problem, but he got my value with where I needed it to be as a seller. So week 5, tenant move-in. Oh, do you have a question, Scott?
But yeah, when you say where I wanted the values
It came in at the purchase price. That's all I cared about. It came in at the purchase price.
Okay, so there was a Rep C in that case.
Yeah, it was a purchase. I was selling the property, so I was not the loan officer. Someone else was, but I was the seller, so I was able to talk to the appraiser about the values.
So if there is no purchase contract, right, then it's just going on.
His opinion. But you as a borrower, you can absolutely meet them and show what you did. And I went over with what improvements I did to justify the value. And he was great with
So you
it.
tell them where you'd like the value to come in?
No.
He's already
You-
got that with the reps.
On a purchase contract, he would have that on the rep C, but yes, if I was trying to refinancing, then here's what I would do, actually, this is good. I would take him the comps and explain exactly what you did. I bought this property for $100,000. I'm getting I got a hard money loan. I'm refinancing it. When I did my numbers, I thought the value range was between 150 and 170. Here's my comps. Here's what I thought it was. What do you think it is? And some appraisers will have open conversations, and some will just say, I can't discuss that with you. So, but if you have the data, it shows that you're more informed, and they're like, oh, some appraisers actually take comps with them because they can't remember. Some will take comps and make notes with them, so these are just good habits to have the data with the comps. I would go over repairs with them, and I would possibly give them invoices. Sometimes lenders do require invoices, sometimes they don't. So good question. Okay, so week 5, tenant moves in and refinances. So when you're doing this buy and hold, this is if you're doing a fix and flip, this is really the process of what your buyer's going through. It's the exact same thing. You're gonna possibly, you might have 2 appraisals on a fix and flip end loan, and you might have 2 appraisals if you have awesome rapid acquisition on the refinance loan. So this gives you a good idea. So 5 weeks is start to finish that you pay off the hard money lender. Who has questions on this? Nope. Cool. So here's things you need to consider. So here's a better way. Some investors will go, well, I'm going to do a fix and flip, and then if I can't sell it, I'm going to keep it as a rental. No. When you buy it, who chuckled? Okay, 1, 2 people, 3. Because how you remodel a buy and hold and how you remodel a fix and flip, 80% of it's the same, 20% of it's different. The 20% that's different is important. We'll do a quick example. Naughty alder cabinets are popular. There's a color called Kodiak. Okay, people like the knots, they like the dark stain. Naughty alder is a softer wood. Maple's a harder wood. Maple cabinets cost more than naughty alder. If I was going to get a rental, I would use maple cabinets versus naughty alder cabinets because I want them to be more durable. Does that make sense? When I'm doing a kitchen, I'm not putting in laminate for a rental. I'm putting in vinyl because vinyl is more economical and there's not any water can't get in between the cracks. Even though laminate's awesome looking now, there's a lot of laminate. You're like, holy cow, that's laminate. It looks like hardwood. Okay, so there's some differences with that too. Or for a buy and hold, I want desert fawn on all of them because my maintenance guys can go in and do touch-up paint way easier versus, hey, you bought this rental or this fix and flip and we don't remember the paint color from 2 years ago. Does that make sense? So there's some little differences. I also use rental carpet on a buy and hold versus flip carpet. Makes a difference of durability. So it's good. Toilets. I would put a more expensive toilet in a rental. Do I want it to clog? Okay, makes sense? It's expensive. So I might invest a little better performing toilet for a rental versus a buy and hold. And these are little things that I've learned that I would have done different. We'll talk about a roof real quick. Let's say I have to put on a new roof and I plan to keep the property for a long time. I might spend more money. Let's say it has already 1 layer. I might spend more money. Let's say it costs me $1,000 more to tear it off. Do you think roofs are cheaper now or are going to be in 20 years? Now, right? So that $1,000 now, it might be worth me tearing it off now to keep it as a rental versus just putting 1 layer on it because it might be a flat roof. Flat roofs only have 15-year expectancy. I got to tear off a 2-layer flat roof. Who's to know if my roofer is still alive? So I might have the roofing hookup. So these are little things that I take into consideration. And this sounds dumb, but you don't realize these until you get more experience saying, oh, someone's done this longer than me and they can share with what they would do differently, okay? So taking that into consideration, if you're going to keep it as a buy and hold, you got to have at least a 680 FICO score, okay? You need to have 6 months PITI generally in savings, principal and interest, taxes, insurance. You don't want to be so leveraged out that you don't have assets in case you have to cover debts. And then your debt to income ratio ideally needs to be below 45%. So a good lender knows how to calculate self-employment income, backs in depreciation, has the mortgages paid out of your business accounts for 12 months. There's these little tricks of the trade to make sure you do them correctly, because if you can't refinance now, at least you can refinance next year as long as you pay your debts correctly. Any questions on financing? Yes, sir.
So, when you get a rental agreement signed, is it 70% of the rents that?
75.
75, so you still got to be able to qualify for 25% on rent.
No. Let me say it differently. Let's say your rent's $1,000, simple math, and your payment's $800. 75% of $1,000 is $750, right?
Right.
So they're going to count a negative $50 a month against your debt to income ratio.
Gotcha.
If you already have landlord history, they're going to take your Schedule E income or your LLC income. Don't hold rentals in S corps. We'll actually go over this in a minute. And they won't take what your current rent is. They'll take off what your depreciation or your expenses are. Does that make sense? They'll go off your previous landlord history agreements. They're only going to use current leases if the new property did not show up on your tax returns yet because you haven't filed or you bought it that year. Yes?
Is that a buy and hold?
Yes. Okay, so when you're getting the mortgage or when you're buying, it's important. If you're going to get a buy and hold, you personally need to get the mortgage in your name. There are some rare occasions, not Fannie, Freddie Mac, you can get mortgages in your entities. We'll discuss that if you have 10 mortgages already. Yes?
This means the refinance mortgage you talked about.
Yeah, the refinance, correct. Yep. Good call.
The first time you're buying it with hard money.
But you're still getting it in your personal name. So Matt Atkinson would get a loan from Eric Hammond's LLC. So I take title in my name. Once I refinance, though, you can change it, consult your attorney or title company, but you can change it to an LLC trust or personal. I like holding them in LLCs. So don't buy, if it's a buy and hold, don't put it in your LLC first. Buy it in your own name. You'll have a 30-day window that you'll have exposure. We understand. But when you refinance it, then you change vesting back to your entity or trust. Okay? Any questions with that? Yes?
What if you're doing it through seller financing? Should you do the LLC or just write your name?
Yeah, good question. The question is, if I'm going to buy it seller financing, I'd probably buy it in my entity's name.
So you have to create an LLC if you don't have one?
Yes.
Okay.
Good question. Okay, here's comps. This is like realtor nugget. This is like a $500 realtor nugget. Okay, because it's amazing how many realtors don't do that. Eric, are you shaking your head?
Yes.
Why?
We had 20 people this week send me 2 comps for analysis.
Did I?
No.
Of course, I wasn't one of the 20. Okay, dude, email me and I'll email you the template you can send them. Do it now before I change my mind. Okay, good. Okay, so here's what I want. Very important. Very, very important. I want comps in the last 90 days. And if they say there's no comps, then I don't want the house or they're not a good agent. There's always comps. But if the house is that hard to comp, I probably don't want it because I call it a white elephant. I don't want white elephants. There's enough deals. I want an easy house to comp out. Okay? Number 2, normally I want a 1-mile radius. That is going to be different on a duplex, triplex, fourplex. There are not a lot of duplex, triplexes, and fourplex. There's not a lot of triplexes. Triplexes are hard to comp out. Okay? So on a duplex, triplex, or fourplex, I might go 4 to 5 miles. But you got to take that in consideration. I wouldn't use a West Valley comp. If I was buying in West Valley, I would not use a 21st East, 21st South comp. But if I was buying in Sugar Hood on 2nd East and 21st South, I might use that 21st East, 21st South comp and then just do a large adjustment due to the mileage. Okay, so just things to consider. I want 10 to 15% of over GLA. Does everyone know what GLA? Raise your hand if you do not know what GLA means. Good, Cal. Okay. Gross living area. This is really important. I would argue this with a lot of people. I do not care about price per square foot that shows up on the MLS. Because the price per square foot in the basement and the price per square foot above grade is not the same.
But they counted it.
But they count it the same just because that's what the formula is on the MLS. So you have a lot of agents say, look, the price per square foot is $85 a foot. It's a good deal. But they're comparing a 2-story house versus a Rambler with a basement. Okay, big difference. So I want GLA means gross living area. It's the square footage above grade. I want the square footage above grade. Yes?
About how much less is the basement worth
How much less?
per square foot?
I would do 3 to 1. 3 to 1. So the most I've seen on a basement's maybe $25, $30 a square foot finish, and that's like east side property. But if it was $30 a square foot, 3 to 1, so 90, maybe $120 a square foot above grade.
What about a split level?
Split level, basement. So when you walk in the stairs and go up, you only count the square footage above grade's above grade, basement's basement. Tri-level is different. Tri-level, when you walk in, you might have the family home evening room or your party room, whatever you want to call it, depending on which side of the fence you're on. Okay, if you walk in and that's above grade, that's okay. But if you walk in and go down the stairs even 3 feet, that's going to be considered basement, okay? So you got to take that into consideration. If you walk in, you got the family home evening room, and then you have the kitchen, and then you go up the stairs and you got 3 bedrooms, 1 bath, or then when you go down the stairs, you got 2 bedrooms, 1 bath. I would consider the family home evening room and then above square footage is above grade. That GLA is different than in the basement. And what's good is if you're when you're buying and holding, always keep your appraisals. I have every appraisal I've ever gotten on my houses. So I review them to see kind of what the value ranges are, what the price per square foot's change from appraiser to appraiser. And if you're flipping a property and if they have challenges with the value and they're willing to share it with you, keep those appraisals for your records to know where they're at. Okay, who has questions with this? The other reason why I have this on there, this is called the brief version, okay? You want the brief, please write this down if you guys are not agents. You want the brief version in a PDF version. You don't want the solds, because when you send it, ask an agent just for solds, they're going to email you a link and it's going to just say what the sales price is in the MLS. That doesn't tell me anything besides the sales price in the MLS. It's closed. Utah's called a non-disclosure state. They don't have to do it. I like this version because it has, you guys see this, the list, the MLS number, the address. So it tells me the address, where the comps are, the list price, when it sold, it was a bungalow, how many square feet, what it sold, sorry, list price, sold price, where the square footage is, and when the date. If you get just the sold in the non-PDF, all you're going to get is this number and that. So how would I know anything else besides that? I don't know what the listing number is on a closed sale. That's not public information. Does that make sense? So what's really cool, what's that? 183, 153, 170, 184, 179, 208, 225, 232, 264, 280. If you can see this one, this is small. This realtor did a good job. They have 4 photos of the property on the subject listing because it sells the house. So if a borrower is looking on Utah Homes or whatever the Utah website is for looking, they can say, oh, there's 4 houses. This house is nice. I want to go look at it. A couple investors do this, actually. I should do this. So think of how quickly I can make a decision. If I know the property data, if I know how big the house is and where it is, I can make a decision really quick based on the sold comps, right? And then if I'm more interested, I might want actives and under contracts. Yes, Adam?
So where that's giving you total square footage, if you just want more information to verify that your GLA is accurate, do you get further information?
Yeah. Then I would ask for more. But like if someone's bringing me a deal, let's just say, hey, does anyone have any houses to wholesale today? I got 2. No one else has one? Can anyone buy a house cash this week? 1, 2, 3, 4. Cool. 5. What time is it? Please.
6:22.
Okay, we'll be done. Oh, we're good. We got 8 minutes. Okay, I'm going to give you guys. Okay, here's an address. Ready? You guys want to write this down? This is a house I put under contract on Saturday. Saturday. It's on 900 East. And I think it's 2994 South. I'll tell you in about 10 seconds. So it's 900 east. It's 1100. Actually, Trevor will pull it up. This will be a good exercise to wrap it up. Okay, yeah, here it is. 2994 south, 900 east. So here's what I would do first. This is awesome. Here's the next thing that we do for here. Is everyone good for 7 more minutes? Yeah? Okay. So for us to chat, okay, we'll go this. Okay, I love Google Maps. So number one, if you're going to look at a deal, don't freaking drive to the house first. Everyone write that down. Don't put freaking. That's a good one. Don't freaking drive to the house first. Google Map it. It'll give you an idea if you even want to go out there. I'd spend 30 seconds Google mapping the street because then I know what I got. Okay? So as he pulls that up, 2994 south, 900 east. Before I even go look at the house also, I want that bird dogger or wholesaler or realtor to send me at least sold comps to even consider it's worth my time. Because if the sold comps are not worth my time, why am I going to go drive out there? I got my time. Very fortunate. I help a lot of people with a lot of stuff. They don't want me driving around saying, Matt, where are you at? Oh, I'm driving around looking at this house. Was it a good deal? I don't know. That just sounds stupid of me, right? So I'm like, yeah, it's a great deal. There's the house. Cool. What is it? Corner lot, right? Right? Corner lot. It's on 9th East. Now, slowly go around so people can see an idea what the house, the street's like. Okay, cool. So corner lot. He's going to make it go around. Good. Okay. So kind of a busy street, but it's not 7th East. I like to stay away from busy streets. Last year I took a class. It was called 9 Houses to Never Buy. The class was so good, I paid the investor to come back out here to teach what not to buy. I know South Salt Lake, though, pretty decent. I've sold one on 2nd East, 3rd East, 4th East, 5th East, and 9th East. So I feel comfortable on those East and the Souths. So I'm going to take 15 grand off this ARV. Okay? Now he's going to pull up the comps real quick. So he's going to go to the MLS while we're pulling that up. So we want comps. I'm going to tell you the tax data so you guys can pull it up at home. Okay? The tax data is the house was built in 1948. If you want to write this down, it's a bungalow. Bungalows are normally built before 1950. They look very, very similar to a ranch rambler. Okay? Bungalows are built normally before 1950. I would compare a bungalow with a ranch rambler also. Okay, on the main floor it is 920 feet, 2 bedroom, 1 bath. In the basement it's 788 feet, 1 bedroom, 3/4 bath. Okay, so he's pulling up. This is a different way for realtors to pull it up. It's got a 1-car carport detached, and it's got a shed. So how much do you guys think a garage is worth? 8,000. What else? What do you guys think? 20? Depends on the neighborhood. I would say 5 to 10, depending on the neighborhood.
2-car or 1?
Well, I'd say a garage. 1 car. Cool. So that gives you an example of the blueprint. Okay. So he's going to pull comps real quick. We're going to do last 90 days. The last 90 days, and we're also going to do square footage. So if the square footage is 928, how big a property do I want above grade and below grade? Did I lose everyone? Does everyone got to go out? 10 to 15. So let's call it 800 square feet to 1,100 square feet, right? And then in the basement, we would do, it's 800 square feet. So call it 700 square feet to 900 square feet. So we'll make it simpler. We're going to do 1,600 square feet total to 2,000 square feet. Is that okay? It's pretty tight. Would you guys agree? We're going to do a 1 mile radius. Now this property, is it east or west of 7th? East. So that's good, right? If it was west of 7th, how much less do you think it's worth? 5 to 10? Scott, I think Scott's first transaction, I think he had a buyer buy one of my houses. Ironically, it was 763 East Springview Drive. He put on new siding. Is that guy rich?
No, I think he had it painted, didn't he?
Oh, he did a good job. It looks good painted then.
He's got friends.
Oh, he's got friends. Is he my cousin? No, he's not my cousin. Oh, okay. So what's cool is I sold a house last year, I think for like 190. And it's a little bit smaller than this property, and this house is farther east. It's 2 years ago, huh? Think so? 18 months ago?
Yeah, it's October.
in October of 2012.
Yeah.
So the values are up. Cool. So here's my ARV. Remember left to right? So we got 169. Wait, go back up. Look at that. 169, 226, 207, 230, 235, 228, 239. Go down, please. 218, 244, 248, 275, 289, 306, 310, 310, 334. Now let's be a little critical, okay? 16th east, too far east. Not a good comp, just too far. Wait, go all the way down. Just stay down to it, please, thanks. 17th east, too far east. 1443 east, it's only 5 blocks away. Still might be tight. 16th east, 14th east, 14th east. So a newer person, just stay there, please. A newer person might say, look, I can get 300. But as you go farther east, that makes a big difference every 10, maybe 2 blocks, maybe 5 to 10 grand a block, depending on where you're at. So knowing that I know better, I'm only going to use the comps that are up to 13th because I feel that's more accurate. Even though an appraiser, they could totally use that, I just know how far east people are willing to go. So right here, here's my biggest one, 310. 1443 east, 3115 south. Okay, I'm going to go off this one, 248. This one I'm okay with that, 244. That one's farther, go up a little bit, like 6. Does that make sense? So I'm kind of giving you an idea how I look at it. Now, some newer investors or some wholesalers that just want to sell you a house, they're going to show you these east side properties only. That's why I like looking at everything. Does that make sense? I want to look at everything, and then I can determine the ARV. If the wholesaler or realtor only sends you 3 comps, that's bunk. I want everything, so I can decipher it on my own. Does that make sense why I'd want that? Because you could manipulate the numbers any way you want based on what you're showing people. Now, would I love to sell for 275? Heck freaking yeah. But I'm also on 9th East, so I'm realistic. I'm going to probably sell it for 15 to 20K less, so I would take that into consideration also. So what do you guys think the ARV is once it's fixed up? Write it down real quick. I want everyone to do this exercise. Please write it down or type it in your phone or make a mental note.
Do you take anything in consideration for the lot size?
No.
No.
If it was a huge lot, sure. If I was 0.09 and everything was a 0.2, I would, but not on these little ones. Or if there was a half-acre lot, I would take that one completely out.
Man, how about the year of build? How much?
Yeah, these are all cool. Great question. So what year was the property? Remember did I tell you? 1948? 48, 48, 41, 49, 44, 51, 49, 41, 49.
These are all within 10 years.
Yeah, they're all 10 years. Okay, let's go. Quick exercise. What value you got?
240.
240. Sir, with the text, with the palm?
I don't know.
Just guess. Just because I'm giving you attention. You look like a nice guy.
230.
230. Good. Go. Switch. Come on, you guys all better have a number.
230.
230. Okay. 250.
I was saying
230. 238. Ooh, I like that one. Different. Okay. 230. 230. 235. Go. 232. 230. This isn't the Price is Right. Keep going. 230. 250. 250. 230. 235. 205. Whoa. This guy's pessimistic. Okay, good. Next. 240. 238. 235. 245. 235. 249.99. That's a good list price. Good list price. Okay.
Conservative view,
220. 235. 245. 232.5.
With the garage, 245.
245. 230. 235. 240. 250. 233. Okay, what I make you guys do? Analyze the deal. Right? You're analyzing. We all got the same data. We all have a different range. The highest I think was 250. Does anyone say over 250? We got Mr. Patty Paint Patrick Stay at 208 over here. Okay. So here's what's cool. its range is 10%, right? Let's say 235, go 10% higher, 10% lower. It's a matter of how good of remodel that I do. Make sense? Do I have comps to support me at 250? Absolutely, if I have a really awesome remodel. Okay, so what's cool with this is this gives you an example how I analyze data quickly. So if you have the address, you got comps, this needs 25 grand in repairs. I could do it for 20. Most people in here could do it for 25. It's not a hard remodel. Even if you're doing $9,000 tub surround showers, you're out. Okay? So it's good. Now let's work backwards. Put your number that you could sell it for. Let's take 10% off the top. I'm going to do this and we'll wrap up. 10% off the top is real estate commissions and closing costs. You take 10% off the top. So if we had Pessy St. Patrick's, we'll call his 21 grand off the top. The most at 250 will take 25 grand off the top. Okay, now if the repairs are $25,000, you take that off the top. Okay, 25 grand off the top of that also. And then let's say you borrow hard money. Let's just take 5 grand off the top for hard money because you're going to flip this property. And you want to make $20,000, we'll call it $25,000 now in profit. What's your number? Just raise your hand once you get it. Cool, we'll take 30 more seconds. So the reason why, when people bring deals to me, this is how quick I can move. Obviously, it takes a lot of transactions to get there, but all of you guys can do this also. It's just having the right data and confidence to move forward. Yes?
So do you not even look at the pictures of the listed homes?
Yeah, I do, but I did a quick version. Not if I'm doing quick. I'm like, hey, if I had to write an offer and I got 4 hours to tell someone, I run my data based on this and say, yeah, this is great. Because this is, if you buy at the auction, has anyone bought at the auction? 2 people? 3? This is all you got. You got to freaking make a decision quick unless you've been inside the house. Okay, so what numbers do you have to buy it for to make $25,000 on profit? Just say it out loud. Okay, sorry. What do you have to? What's your profit? What do you have to buy it for to make the profit? 152, 175, 145, 165. Cool. It's all over the place, right? Depends on what your ARV is. So what's good with this is a good exercise. You kind of learn how to value properties. So as we wrap up, I left. Thanks for coming today for St. Patrick's Day. I got an appointment with some investor friends downtown. So I'm going to take off right after this. Here's how this works if you guys want to chat. Teach these classes every single month over and over and over again. I would come as frequently as you need to hear this over to get it down. During the day I do mortgage stuff because that's what my mortgage clients expect me to do. I just got to be pig-hearted, stubborn to do my mortgage clients first. I do my own investing second. If I don't have time for a deal, I'm like, hey, literally, sorry, thanks for the deal. I just can't do it today, okay? So with that being said, I try to help as many people as possible. I teach workshops every other month, okay? They're paid workshops. We don't have them here anymore because we have about 70 people that come every month. We have them in Salt Lake. The next class I'm teaching is landlording. Does anyone have at least one rental property? Raise your hand. Good. If you've got one rental property, I'll probably save 10 to 1 with what you spend in inefficiencies because you don't know with the class, okay? So we're going to teach a class. If we can manage 57 properties, Trevor literally does it 20 hours a week. So if he can do it in 20 hours, and he's pretty smart. If he can do it 20 hours a week, you guys can easily do 5 to 10 properties on your own, less than 5 hours a week. We're going to go how to keep your turnover low, how to maximize your cash, when to do during certain improvements, and just how to be a better landlord. So if you're interested, Trevor will follow up with you today, this month, to register for the class. 2 things I wanted to share. I would encourage everyone to go to UV RIA. It's once a month. There's a flyer up here. Please take a flyer and invite someone else that you think is interested in investing. Okay, that's an easy thing. It does better. 2 heads are better than 1. There's a workshop that I'm going to for Sloria that Sean Watkins is teaching seller financing. Whoever went to Andy McFarland's class, probably 10% of it will be the same. So that means 90% will be different. Sean owns 250 doors. So he knows seller financing better than I do on certain things. I would say I can comparable with him. I'm going to that workshop too. I'm trying to share as much stuff that I'm going to so you guys can go too. So if you guys want to chat how it works, after you've gone to both classes, if you're not able to attend, Another class in 2 weeks. You can get with Trevor. You can watch these videos online. Jason will have these up at the end of the week, right, Jason? But you can watch them online, watch other videos, and then you fill out what's called an investor profile. It's basically like an application to chat for 45 minutes. You can ask me any questions that you want about anything with real estate investing. It's totally open book. I only do 2 appointments a week because I do them after hours, so I squeeze them in from after mortgages to meet with my wife, or so I can stay married. Okay, alimony is really expensive for me. Okay, so I thank you for coming today. I'd encourage you guys to network with each other. You guys could pass deals. Whoever raised hands on who could buy deals, you might be able to chat with each other. And hope everyone has a great St. Patrick's Day. And thank you for coming today. Thank you very much.